Welcome back to our F1 2020 Ferrari return to glory career mode, and today then we've got the Japanese Grand Prix. Just 4 races left to go now then in the season, and it is still very tight then at the top of the table. As you can see, both me and Charles still in the race for the driver's title. We still lead the way in the constructors, so it's still all to play for then. Just 13 points separating 4 of us at the top there, 3 of us separated by 3 points. So, you know, it's everything to play for here, and we can't afford any kind of slip ups, as we're fast forwarding in time now where we're hopefully going to get an aero upgrade on the car for this Japanese Grand Prix weekend, and we do indeed get it then, so that is very good for us there. That gave us a nice leap forward there, closing up to Red Bull and Mercedes as well, so that's good for us. I'm not sure if we were behind Racing Point before, but where we certainly are behind is the engine, where a lot of teams are now starting to catch us back up again. We did a good job of catching up initially, but now a lot of teams are coming back at us then, and we're going to have to start, you know, redoing some engine upgrades then to really get ourselves back into that race. And we can get a big upgrade on the car for the next race then after this at Austin, so that'll be good. In the development race overall then, well, just none of us at the top lesson up at the moment then, and well, yeah, it's still staying very close then between these top 4 teams apparently, but also the midfield do seem to be closing in a bit as well. McLaren have really been nowhere for a lot of this season, but they've really started to close in now. They've had a huge haul of upgrades there by the looks of things. Weather's looking nice and dry for this weekend, which is a bit surprising because that doesn't always be the case here in Japan. Often some wet weather in there at some point, and we're now getting told that there's probably going to be some new regulations for next season, but spoiler alert, we won't be doing another season on this game because F1 2021 is only a couple of weeks away. Practice there, it went well for us once again, so that might mean that qualifying is bad for us based off of how it's been going in recent races, but hopefully that won't be the case. Hopefully we can sort of stop that trend today then, because this is a track that I really do enjoy, the Suzuka circuit. Don't often see the best races here in real life, but just to drive it, it's yeah, just really enjoyable. It's got a really nice flow to it, so I was hoping for you know, a good result here today then, as we're into Q1 now then, which we have failed to make out of a couple of times this season, so hopefully we won't be doing that today, as Verstappen then is set at 24.7. We'll see what our initial lap time is then. It's at 25.3, which is enough to get us through, and it didn't feel like the best lap, so I was like confident of doing a bit better than that later on in the session then. Charles there in 5th, Perez actually topped that session then for Racing Point, and we have Grosjean, Giovinazzi, Russell, Raikkonen, Latifi then dropping out in that first session. So what we're used to really there, that's been sort of a similar bottom 5 for a lot of this season, as we now head then into Q2, and we'll see if we can do enough this time then to get into the top 10. Obviously we had a very strong qualifying in Singapore, which is obviously quite different to a lot of the tracks that we had been racing at recently, so that may have been why our qualifying was so good there. We set 25.2, which is slightly better than what we did in the first session. We are 9th then at this stage, but I do believe the Team Mercedes won mediums before. They were slightly quicker than us, so that is that encouraging. We are of course going out again here then, and we're marginally up on our first sector time here, and then heading into Spoon now. It looks like we're gaining some time on our personal best, but the exit there wasn't the best, so we actually did lose a bit. We are still about a 10th up though, so this will be an improvement hopefully here, and well, we do need an improvement then because we have been bumped down to 12th then since we started this lap. As we head into the final chicane now then, we are on for a slight improvement, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough here then. Ricciardo in 10th on a 24.9, and yet we cross line then, only 12th on the grid, so I mean it is slightly better than some of the ones we've been having, but yet again we failed to make the top 10. Interestingly, in practice it was saying that the target was 11th here, so maybe the engine was playing more of a part here than I expected. I thought it was going to be more of an aero reliant weekend, but yeah, the team seemed to expect us to actually be around there, And still, that is disappointing though. We are in the title fight. We don't want to be qualifying 12th, especially on a twisty circuit like this one. And unsurprisingly there, we lost some ground to Bottas in our rivalry there. So yeah, that's sort of another double whammy for us there in qualifying. We did at least gain a little bit of a claim, so that does seem to suggest that we were around where the team expected us to be. And yeah, we'll have to see then what we can do, because as I said, we're not where we want to be on the grid. It's going to be a dry race though. Obviously we did win here last season, but it was in wet conditions, so we'll see then how our fortunes favour in the dry. We'll now head then into the Japanese Grand Prix.
Welcome along then to the magnificent Suzuka International Circuit, a stone's throw away from Ise Bay in the beautiful Japanese countryside. What surprises lie in wait for us today in the Japanese Grand Prix? We're southwest of the city of Nagoya today at the unique figure-of-8 Suzuka Circuit. 3.6 miles and 18 corners make up a lap here, with average speeds approaching 136 miles per hour. DRS will be available, of course, into the potential passing opportunity at turn 1, although the best place for overtaking will be through 130R and into the final chicane. Joining me for today's race once again is Anthony Davidson. Why don't we start by talking about Valtteri Bottas? There's a new gearbox in the back of that car, which means a grid penalty, and hopefully some excitement as they make their way through the field.
Well, at the end of the day, it's always better to take some pain now than parking it up halfway through the Grand Prix. Let's just hope they can put that new gearbox to good use and get the results they're looking for.
Let's run you through the driver grid order for today's exciting race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, edging out Max Verstappen, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Leclerc, Ricciardo, Lando Norris, and Bottas. They've taken a grid penalty. Sainz, Perez, Stroll, and the scientist, Ocon, Magnussen, Roman Grosjean, and Giovinazzi. Russell, Gasly, Kimi Raikkonen, and Alexander Albon, Kvyat, and Nicholas Latifi. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out. Then let's see who can prevail today.
This is exactly why I took those extra engine parts back in Silverstone when we had that bad qualifying, because we're just getting into that stage now where so many drivers are having to take engine penalties, and we're able to pretty much just avoid that now, hopefully, at the end of the season with our extra parts. We should be like moving up the field pretty much before we even start some of these races, as is the case today. Then we're already up 2 places. The team did give us the well, pretty much a standard strategy for if we were in the top 10 anyway, though, starting in the on the soft tyres and then going over to hard. So we'll see how that plays out for us. Then we will be on similar to what everyone else in front of us is doing, but just hopefully we'll have more race pace this time and be able to maybe run a little bit longer into the race then. Obviously we were outside the top 10, so we didn't have to do that, but yeah, that's what the team decided to do then, as the lights are coming on now. Away we go, and it's an okay start then from the dirty side of the track once again, although Stroll's actually managed to make up some ground there in the second phase and is alongside his teammate there. We were a little bit deep there actually into turn 2, and that's going to allow Ocon to get alongside and ahead of us, in fact, heading into turn 3 here. And we're still side by side and through the S's, just trying to avoid contact, but it looks like we've just about done enough there to get back ahead of him. But yeah, that certainly wasn't ideal there if we lost that position, as the 2 Racing Point drivers are still battling it out there in front of us. It looks like Perez here is just about going to do enough here then to stay ahead. Yeah, we'll get back ahead there in fact, because Stroll did have the better start there. As we head up now then towards the hairpin, and we see the door left wide open by Stroll, so we're just going to dive through on the inside and make up a position there then up into 9th. So it wasn't the best start initially, but we have at least managed to now make up a position here then off the start. We see then the replay, and it was obviously Hamilton from Verstappen at the front, Leclerc right there as well, so all the other 3 top contenders were right in contention, but we were well out of it there, unfortunately. We see then on board Esteban Ocon, and yeah, he was the one behind us then, and he actually did have a better start than us there. We managed to cover the inside line right into the first corner and then just went completely deep into turn 2, we were just trying to find a way past the racing points, but the gap wasn't there, and we ended up just leaving the door wide open for Ocon to walk through it. But we managed to fight back eventually, at least, and then he was under pressure actually from the Haas there, Roman Grosjean as well, and there's the move that we completed a couple of corners late after that then on Lance Stroll there to move up to 9th. We've now got then in the lap 2 Sergio Perez there completely line up the rear tyres out of the Castillo triangles. That's going to put us right on the tail of him then, with no DRS yet then, but we are very close here then. It's almost a drag race. We don't really have the engine power, but we forced Perez to run wide. He's now driven into the side of us there, but we do manage to get through then and up into 8th position. So managed to force Perez into a little bit of a mistake there. Well, it's really 2 mistakes, because he lit up the rear tyres and then he ran wide there through turns 1 and 2. Drove into the side of us. It didn't seem like he got any damage there, as we see the replay then. And you can just see us right there in the mirrors, just forcing him to, well, stopping him from turning in there until it was slightly too late, and he just ran wide, and that allowed us to get through there. Now skip on to lap 6, where our progress was really halted at this point, because once again just heading into a DRS train here then that was led by Daniel Ricciardo, and Bottas here was struggling as well for the same reason by the looks of things. We just couldn't gain at all. We've got DRS and just nothing there then. I was ending up just going back into lean towards the end of the straights and just save some fuel once we were in the slipstream there, but we just couldn't make any progress there then, as on lap 9 we are now being called in for our first pit stop. Bear in mind no one else has pitted yet, so that does seem quite early for us to be coming in now then, but we'll see then. Hopefully the team do have some kind of trick up their sleeve then, because we are struggling to get it done on the track then, so we better hope they've got some kind of plan here then to get us ahead in the pit stops, as we are actually a bit close then on our in-lap here, ironically, and we may well get the move done on Bottas then just before we pit. We're side by side then, around the outside, now got the install line for the left-hander, but the thing is, if he doesn't pit, which he doesn't, we had to back out of it there, and that slowed us down a little bit then, heading towards the pit lane. Had to completely back out of that one then and move across to actually go into the pit lane. If we had both pitted there, then we may well have had the chance of just about pipping into the pit lane there, but it wasn't to be, and we probably shouldn't have even gone for that move in the end, because it ended up just costing us a bit of time, I think. Nonetheless, so we come out of the pits, and unfortunately we're going to be behind Latifi here then, so we're probably going to catch him on this lap now, which is quite frustrating here. As we see then the replay of this battle with Bottas, and we just managed to run it around the outside there and then get the inside line for the next part, and we would have finally got ahead of him there if we hadn't had to pit, but that's just how it was then. We see on board from Bottas, and we just finally gained so much more on that occasion. I was using a bit more of overtake because I knew I'd saved them back in the pit, so I was just going all out a bit more for that in lap, but ended up being no avail there basically, as we're on the back now then of Latifi after only half a lap here then, so this is going to be really hurting us, and we've got to try and get this move done as soon as possible here, so we're just going to go for it straight away into Spoon, and we did thankfully manage to get it done then and move ourselves up a place. But how costly would that have been then, because we were in obviously dirty air for the first part of that lap, and obviously we would have been a little bit slower then into some of those corners just before the overtakes, so that probably cost us a couple of tenths there, so that may well have affected our chances of jumping Bottas here. Obviously we have dropped back a little bit from the back of Sainz, so got to make up a bit of ground there as well. It does look like a lot of these cars are in the pits, and Bottas is in, so is Perez, who is behind us, and this has not gone well at all for us then. Bottas has managed to jump Sainz there, and Perez has jumped us, so we've ended up losing out in all this then. I was really hoping the team would be able to get me ahead of Bottas here, but instead we've ended up behind Perez, so that's worked out terribly, and if we hadn't been behind Latifi there, then we may well have managed to maintain that position over Perez, which is very frustrating. It almost got even worse there because Stroll wasn't too far behind us, but we are at least still ahead of him then in this race. So we are in 9th then, but we've got some work to do now then to recover a good position in this race. And yeah, it looks like we're going to have to try and make some moves then on the track if we can. Sainz is only doing that then. He's managed to repass Bottas, so I'm not sure what's going on with him then. It's just another disaster class for the Mercedes driver then, by the looks of things. Interestingly, the 2 racing points then are on medium, so that could well make things even harder for us here. Although we have, I believe, just been given a radio message, I think just before this clip, that Perez had an issue, so that is why he's a bit slower here. And yeah, it's now much easier this time than to close in on him, and we managed to get the move done once again on Perez and move ourselves back up to 8th place. But yeah, Perez had some kind of issue, and we're seeing now then that he's actually just letting his teammate go past there. So yeah, a definite issue there for on the racing point. So that moves us up a place then. We need to just really try and get to work now then and try and get back within DRS range of Bottas if we can, because we're just outside of it at the moment. But we've also got to watch out for Stroll behind us. So yeah, it's a bit of a difficult balance here then, because I was having to be really careful to not let Stroll go past or to get into any kind of battle with him, whilst also trying to bring down this gap to Bottas. And it was helped a little bit here because they got into a fight up in front with Sainz and Ricciardo. So I was really hoping that they'd all just slow each other down here, but I was really struggling to get the gap down to under a second here. And I knew that if I could just get it within that second, then it could really help me with like DRS to just be like towed along a bit. But yeah, I just couldn't get close enough on any occasion. It was a really frustrating race here then. I was having to keep on watching out for Stroll behind because he was getting some good speed off of that final chicane as well. So it was really difficult balance here then to manage like the fuel and the ERS in this race, and just nothing was happening on track because I was just trying to reel in these cars in front. We did finally close into DRS range here then on the final lap, so we'll see now then if there's anything we can do here on this final lap. It's going to be a heroic move then, because we certainly couldn't do anything earlier on when we were behind Bottas. So if we're going to go for it, it's going to have to be a wild lunge then. We're going to have to use all of our ERS if we can, as we now head then through the second Degner. Is still pushing, but we've lit up the rear tyres there and we're into the barriers, and we've lost our front wing. Ocon's gone through. Perez then with that issue has gone through. We're out of the points here. We're not going to score today after all of this, and a frustrating race has come to an even worse ending there then. We're not out of the race, but we may as well be, because we're not getting anything today. After all that, we were only on for 4 points there then. I doubt we would have been able to make a move on Bottas, but I was still pushing just in case the opportunity did present itself. But well, that could have just blown the championship for us there then, with Verstappen winning the race. Obviously all the other title contenders were right up there today, but for us it's only going to be 13th place, and in the end a really disappointing result as we cross the finish line.
That's the end of the race. We'll see you in Parc Fermé.
It was a magnificent race and a drive right out of the top drawer to take the win for Red Bull today. Anthony Davidson, a resounding victory today. What set them apart from the rest?
I'd say it was down once again to good, consistent driving, nailing the corners, working to the track conditions and perfecting the team's strategies. They got all of these things right today, and the results speak for themselves.
Here come today's winners. The team at Red Bull have done a phenomenal job recently. It's clear to see that they've put in the work, and they should be proud of the victory they secured here.
It was not a good day for us at all then, both for me and for us as a team here. Verstappen then taking the victory, and Lewis Hamilton was second today. Verstappen getting the fastest lap as well. And what made things even worse was that Lando Norris actually passed Charles as well then to get on the podium there. So Charles didn't even manage to salvage a podium for us today then. McLaren just making a huge step from where they were before, looking at like they were there at the back of the midfield, and they finished 3rd and 5th today. So they've just made some huge ground there. Ricciardo, another solid points finish there in 6th. Bottas, another dismal day in 7th. Stroll, Ocon, Perez round out the points. We were only 13th today, Albon only 11th, so some dismal performances there. And, well, is this it? Is it over? With only three races to go, we are now, both of us, we're more than a race win behind Verstappen here then, who has a 7-point lead over Lewis Hamilton. But yeah, Leclerc 26 behind, we're 28 behind. How has it just got away from us today then? It could well have done. You know, you never know with this season. It's been very unpredictable, but well, we've got a lot of work to do now then in these final 3 races. We can't afford any more slip-ups. We got to have 3 very strong results then if we're going to win. If either of us are going to win the driver's title this season. Ricciardo then overtakes Albon. Norris is back ahead of Stroll then. And in the constructors, it could have been worse today. Bottas was only 7th. Albon didn't score any points, so it could have been worse today, but we have still lost ground then to both Mercedes and Red Bull. We have still got a 24-point lead over them. Red Bull just another 2 back after that, so that one, we could still be okay in that. We can't afford any more slip-ups, so that's for sure. But as long as we both keep on scoring points, then we do still have a good chance of that then. Renault have overtaken AlphaTauri then today, and that is the only change then in the constructors.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. Did you feel that things went well for you today? Do you think you were lucky not to end your race with that crash? Sounds like there's some work to do back at the factory.
Incredibly, we did actually equal Bottas today in the rivalry because neither of us were on the podium and I got a faster race lap than he did, so we both scored 3 today then. I do think though that maybe Bottas will now easily reach 30 before us, even if we do have a good weekend next time, so we may well have lost that one, I'm not sure yet. We did at least gain some more driver reclaiming today despite crashing on the final lap and not scoring any points, but that's pretty much the only thing that went right for us then this weekend. And yeah, we've given ourselves an uphill task then heading into these final 3 races then, heading to the Americas now then for this final trio of races then, USA, Mexico and Brazil then to round out the season yet again, and we'll see then what we can do next time. We desperately now need then a good result, and hope to see you for that one then. If you did enjoy this one, really appreciate a like on the video, and I'll see you next time.